Welcome to the studio here at Itron Utility Week 2019. We're talking digital engagement, and Eric, you can talk about it in energy and water.
Right, well, our name of our company, Smart Energy Water, really recognizes that there's this nexus between energy, so gas and electricity, and water, and how from a people perspective, we're worried about how all of these come together to help the sustainability movement.
Because of all this new technology, but how does it benefit a customer?
Yeah, well, that's one of the challenges. We spend a lot of money on pipes and wires, upgrading infrastructure. It can be big projects that cost a lot of money that take a long time to deploy, but then at the end someone says, well, what's in it for me? So our company tries to focus on giving tools, mobile tools, really modern things, apps for your phone, push notifications to really bring people into the ecosystem, make them more aware, make it easier to make decisions, and really ultimately self-serve their participation in the energy and water markets.
It's because all this technology is changing business models for utilities.
Absolutely. We hear all the time that utilities used to be commodity providers, right? They sold kilowatt hours and cubic gallons or something of water, but that's all changing now. The commodity, especially in a world where we have distributed energy resources and alternative sources of generation, the role of utilities is changing pretty dramatically. They're becoming service providers. And so if you're a service provider, you have to be providing the kind of service tools that modern companies provide. So, think about Uber. I can just download this app and push a button and a car shows up to my house. I didn't have to call anybody. I could track the whole time that the person was coming to my house. I knew when they were there. I got a copy of my receipt instantly, and I did all of that without talking to a person.
What are some of the innovations that are making you excited right now?
Oh, there's so much going on. It's hard to keep track of. We're seeing a couple of things. The first is dynamic pricing and alternative pricing proposals, giving customers choices of how and when they buy energy, letting them choose between a plan that best meets their needs is great, but how do you get that information? Well, AMI systems, like the things that Itron does, that's the underpinning, that creates the raw data. But then how do we let customers see that data and then make the smart choice? And more data, in our view, more information that's more easily executed on by the customer is the key. So perhaps I'm looking at my consumption and I see I'm higher in my consumption than my neighbors. I can then drill down, easy to use tools right on my phone, understand what the problem is, and maybe then go off to a marketplace where I could buy something, more efficient refrigerator or solar panels for my roof, and do that right off my phone.
What are some of the conversations that have interested you here at Itron Utility Week?
Well, there's a ton going on. I think the one that I always love to hear, having spent a lot of time in the AMI industry, is hearing the leaders from the utilities who have AMI systems deployed saying, this has been so much more valuable to our organization than we ever imagined up front. So people really have struggled with the business case and how do I come up with a justification for spending what is a lot of money. Yeah. And then to hear people after the fact come back and say, wow, it was so much better than I ever imagined is, that's frankly satisfying. But now we're getting to this point, there's enough AMI deployed, generating enough data, enough control, enough connectivity, that people have kind of kicked onto that 2.0, what am I going to do with the data? So they're being predictive, a word that you heard from the folks from FPL at the opening this morning, which I think is really important, is we've moved from reactive to predictive. So in the old world, a utility was kind of a break-fix organization. When something broke, we're really good at running out and fixing it. And we do that quickly, and we do it safely. But now, isn't it better if we can get there in advance and fix the problem before it's a problem? And that doesn't happen without the technologies that are being deployed here.
That's a neat segue into what does the future hold? What's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years that's going to change the industry?
Well, I think you're already starting to see the early moves of it, which is this whole industry is becoming much more transactive. And so you have more players, it's becoming more diffuse and more kind of specialized. So in our business, we provide these tools that allow for mass customization of the customer experience. So I would tell a utility, if you've got 1 million customers in your service territory, and I asked you, how many customer segments do you have? And 10 years ago, people would have said, well, I probably have 3. I have residential, commercial, and industrial. Those are my 3 customer segments. Now people are saying, if I have 1 million customers, I have 1 million customer segments. Yeah. Everybody is going to have their own unique view of how they want to interact with the utility, on what terms, On what basis? How much do they value green versus money versus convenience versus I just don't want to think about it at all? And all of those can be reasonably legitimate points of view. We just have to let the customer have the tools to use the system and interact with us in the way that's best for them.
In the future, the customer truly is king. Thanks for joining us.
Hey,
Very
thanks
interesting.
for having me.
Be sure to subscribe to Smart Energy International's digital channels for more industry-related content. Thanks.